Okay, everybody, thanks for turning up. And I'm just Peter. I'm going to hand over to you tonight. Tonight, you're in charge. So, hello, this is me. I'm MathPig. We've got Jesus as Lord beside us. He seems to have forgotten why he's here, but we're here to decide which is better: society based on theocracy or secular. So, Peter, you're in charge. Take over.
Yeah. Okay. So, there's an echo. I don't know where it's coming from, but we do have an echo. I can still hear you talking, MathPig. I'm not sure. Could be me. Let me go check real quick. Oh, wait, it is
Someone's in the private chat.
It is me. Okay. So, yeah, welcome everyone. This almost didn't happen if we hadn't messaged someone because reasons. Yeah, we're gonna have a debate on which is the better society, one based on religious beliefs or one based on secular beliefs. And I'm going to poke a little. Maybe if we had a clock for both, it would work. One thing we didn't agree on, MathPig, so you need to help me out there real quick. Who's going to go first?
I'm happy with opening statements. I don't think we really need any opening statements. I've got one question I'd like to start with, if that's all right with Jesus is Lord.
Jesus is Lord, do you have an opening statement?
No. Go ahead. You can start.
Yeah. The only question, the question I'd like to start with is give me an example of a successful religious country.
Well, when you say religious country, can you expound on that? What you mean by religious country? Because my definition of a religious country would be when Christ returns a second time. That reality has not been actualized.
That would be Christianity, and we went over this. We were quite specific, and we had this. The Hangouts on your channel, you can go back and look at it, and you were happy to go with religion. We're not gonna. It's not Christianity. Religion. Everybody knows what religion is.
Yeah, and the true religion, the only true religion on the planet that's ever existed, is the religion of Christianity. However, the religion of Christianity requires a heart change, an inward change. So it's not about what you're doing on the outward for appearance, but an inward change. The inward change for everyone, what we call glorification, where everyone is given a new body. We're no longer subject to these bodies of flesh, whereby we're not tempted by the flesh. Those things won't be given to us, won't be granted to the believer until Christ returns a second time.
Okay, so you're not going to answer my question, which was very simple, for you to just give me an example.
I don't have any examples of a Christian or a secular society.
You've no examples
of
a
secular society, I'll argue, draws from the well of the Christian tradition. What you call a secular society, they're not so secular after all. That's what I'll argue. But I don't have an example of a Christian society. Doesn't exist. It won't exist until Christ returns a second time.
There's no Christian society that's successful. No. But there's plenty of examples of secular societies that are like you can. What would you? You're not even giving me anything to work with here. You're coming in, I ask you a question, and you're just not going to answer it. I'm going to defend Christianity.
I don't have any examples.
You're not giving me much to work with here.
Say that again.
I says you're not giving me much to work with. You're asking me to come in and defend my point. You told me that I could ask a question first. I asked it.
All right, let me ask a question. I said I don't have any examples. I'm just being honest. I don't know any Christian societies. Can you give me an example of a secular society? And tell me how long they've been secular. How many years? How many decades, if any?
So you want me to know the history of a country? Well, I didn't do a history study on the country, but I can tell you that there, for example, if you take into consideration possibly crime rates, if you go and look at the prison system in Holland, the crime rate has lost 10,000 people, 10,000 prisoners in this last 10 years. They're actually using their prisons as homes for refugees. If you go to America and look at the American prison system, you've got upwards of 700 people per every 100,000 people in prison. And prisons are growing.
Okay.
That is a secular society. Holland is a secular society.
Mm-hmm. It is today, yes.
Yes. You asked for an example, I give you one.
Yeah, today Holland is a secular society. That is correct, but it always hasn't been that way. So you have a secular society that has built up wealth and prosperity off the back of the Bible that has now recently abandoned the Bible, which is exactly what America is doing today. America was built on biblical principles. We even had Bibles in the schools, and we have since strayed from that. Although I don't have you an example of a Christian nation, I have an example of a nation built on biblical principles. But in the latest years, you can't use America as your case study as a Christian nation, because America has long ago has abandoned the principles of Scripture.
I give you that. That was a slip on my hand. I give you that.
Yeah. So the Netherlands is one of the least religious countries. I think it's for 5% Islam, 25% Christian.
It's probably one of the more happier countries as well, if you go by the statistics.
Yeah, they're very happy.
Yeah, they're very happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you did have Reformation, and I don't know how happy people were in the 16th and 17th century, but or in the early 19th century, but you then have secularization later in the 20th century, late 20th century. But before that, Netherlands was predominantly what? Christian.
Christian. Right? Well, probably Catholic, which you don't actually recognize as a Christian. So they either are or they aren't.
Well, there was Roman Catholics. There were also Protestant groups as well. I think it's 11%, 12% Protestant, 12% Roman Catholic, 9% Protestant, 4% other small Protestant denominations. But
so basically, I could roll down through every stat under the sun, and all you're basically going to say to me is that country started as a Christian society. That's why it's better. Is that your argument?
Well, I'm saying that the pattern that we see, and this is the pattern that is prophesied that would happen in Scripture.
We're not talking Scripture.
These countries do benefit from, and they receive blessings from God because of their Christian upbringing. But then, as Scripture predicts what happened, they have since strayed from God. They have fallen. There's going to be a great falling away. So America, it looks like it's next. Canada has already gone by the wayside. Europe is a shell of itself as far as the Christian faith is concerned. The churches have been abandoned. Muslims are now moving in, taking over. You'll have Sharia and
they're all religion. They're all religious. All the people that you're saying, they're all religions.
Right, but it's left a vacuum. And secularism hasn't filled it, but Islam has. That's a problem. For you.
For me.
That's a problem, yeah.
We're not talking about that. So basically what your argument is all countries started out Christian, regardless of what they are now, so it doesn't matter, I'm right.
Oh, no, I'm not saying all countries started out Christian, but yours certainly was a Christian nation before it adopted secularism. So I don't know how much stock I can put into your statistics. I'm sure you have much of them. Considering that fact, it's sort of like the Obamanites going around taking credit for Trump's economy. I think the Christian
Where are you
upbringing.
going? We're not talking Trump. We're not talking politics. We're not
It
talking
was an
scripture.
analogy. It was an analogy.
I'm
I think
asking you for an
most
example,
of
right? I've got plenty of, like, give me something to, you're just stating facts. You're not, or stating things. You're not giving me any facts, anything to work with, anything back and forth. You're just, your
is it a
statement.
fact that the Holland was a Christian nation before it secularized recently?
Is it
In
a
the
fact that they used
2000s or
to,
something?
is it a fact that the country itself didn't exist if you go back far enough?
Of course.
Exactly. You're just, like,
So, but you said I didn't give any facts, and I gave a fact about your country that it was a secular nation before the 2006, 2008,
that's not an
2010.
argument.
Let
Are
me,
you collecting the statistics?
guys, let me jump in real quick
Yeah.
to solve a little problem. So um, when we come up with statistics, we come up with today's statistics. So if you're going to use a specific time period, you need to come up with the statistics of that particular time period, because
Yeah,
otherwise we're going to muddy the water.
that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if this secular nation, if these happiness statistics can be compared to your nation when it was predominantly Christian. What were the statistics then? Did they change?
That would be for you to bring up if you want to use that. So if you have those statistics, you can link to those statistics. MathPig could even put them on screen if he wants to. So if you have those statistics, please provide them.
I don't. I don't think it's relevant to my argument. My argument is simply that these countries, like the Netherlands, adopt Christian principles regarding marriage, and of course they blur that somewhat, but predominantly marriage is between a man and a woman. Marriage is till death do you part, um, and they a marriage to one man and one woman, not one man and five women, or five women and five men. So they adopt that Christian principle, and now they're benefiting from it. And now you want to collect statistics because you call yourself a secular nation when you've been obeying the laws of God, the precepts of God for decades, centuries, some countries even, and you're benefiting, you're being blessed because of those benefits. Now,
No,
you're
what we're
judging
being blessed of, no, what we're being blessed of, as you put it, would be homogenous, people working together. We can achieve what has been achieved through what you think is only down to Christian and the fact that it started as a Christian nation. It's the fact that they worked together when they were Christian that made it work. The fact that they have now moved on and realized that being that Christian nation held them back in certain retrospects, they have now dropped off with the religion, and because of that, they are still a society, still working better, because it's a community. It's nothing to do with what religion leads you. It's the fact that they're working together.
Yes, they were always working together under both systems, right? This was your statement there. But you made another claim that they started to see this falling off. Basically, I don't want to misquote you. Do you have any evidence that their Christianity was not working or failing, or and that is why they switched to the secularist society? What evidence do you have to support that?
The new laws being brought into place in these countries that open up freedom.
What evidence do you have to
Excuse me, you asked me a question. Excuse me.
Okay.
The fact that whenever they drop off, as you use it, the statement, and don't use religion as much, they realise that everybody would be equal. Religion has certain things put down that say this is the way to go, but for a society as a whole, for a social species that we are, for us to work together, we have to include everybody. And the laws that are being put into place now, which certain laws being put under Christian rules, have been removed and been replaced by secular laws, which give more freedom to everyone, more equal rights to everyone.
Okay, these laws have been in existence while you were still a Christian nation. These anti-discrimination laws, true?
Probably.
Did you have anti-discrimination laws before you converted to secularism, MathPig?
Before I converted to secularism, I didn't wake up one morning and converted.
Before your country converted to secularism, did you have special civil anti-discrimination laws?
We are still fighting to get some done as we speak.
Okay, so you had these laws before with the Bible as a Christian nation. This isn't something you came up with and climbed out of the.
I'll chime in. I'll chime in real quick. We did not have those laws while Christianity was.
What year did the Netherlands become a secular nation?
Over time, we're 80%. We're 80% atheist at the moment, according to the last poll.
Was there a declaration one day that the
no
prime minister say, or whoever is in charge, did he say, we are now a secular nation, I declare this day to be?
No. Society moved along. Society moved along as a group. Laws get changed because of the will of the people. The will of the people became more secular. The actual people in the country became more secular in their beliefs. They dropped off with religion because they seen how it held them back. The reason that you say that they have a society based on Christianity is because that is what it was before. If you has a system and you are trying to change the system, you're not going to throw away things that is a benefit. So yes, there is some benefits to that, but that's basically society based, not the religion at all. I could replace it with other things and still have the same benefits.
Why do you call your constitution a constitution? Where did you get that idea from?
Constitution. I don't have a constitution.
You don't have a Dutch constitution?
I'm not from Holland.
Oh, so you mentioned Holland earlier.
Yes,
so where did they get this idea of a constitution from?
I didn't do the entire history of where they got their constitution from. I looked up.
Well, it's quite obvious where I'm going with this.
Yeah, because you don't even know where I'm from. I'm in Ireland, where their country is now trying to change the laws. We still have a blasphemy law. You can be sent to prison in Ireland if it is enforced that you use the Lord's name in vain, as you call it.
You mentioned the Dutch, so I'm using the Dutch as your example.
I could use plenty of other examples. I brought up one thing.
All right, well, we're still talking about the Dutch. We'll get to your second example of this secularist nation, which doesn't exist, because all nations that are prosperous adopt biblical principles, and that's why they're prosperous. All right, and I can demonstrate that. In 1983, that's where your equal treatment was introduced into the Dutch Constitution, not yours.
I'm not from Holland.
All right, according to Article 1 of the Dutch Constitution, all persons in the Netherlands should be treated equally in all circumstances, in equal circumstances, and distinctions on the grounds of religion, belief, political opinion, race, sex, or any grounds are prohibited.
That's a good thing. The
principle of equal treatment and non-discrimination functions in the relationship between the state and the individual. This is also true for Article 1 of the Constitution, which is not directly applicable in lawsuits between private individuals. All right, so you have a constitution which sounds similar to the United States Constitution, which was ratified after the men and women of our founding fathers, men, declared themselves to be free, invoking the God of the Bible. So without the declaration of your freedom and the God of the Bible, there is no constitution, which the Dutch Constitution is clearly derived from.
Okay, so your argument is God helped the Americans come up with their constitution. Holland based their constitution on America's, therefore God.
And every country you notice is trying to pattern themselves after what America has done. America is the greatest nation on God's green planet. Unfortunately, we have a group of radicals in the Dixiecrat Party who are trying to ruin that. The party of racism, they've been trying to ruin it ever since its inception.
So a country that deliberately has separated church and state, who was designed, a country who was designed as a secular nation, is the best country in the world, under your opinion.
So let me get this.
No, right. Just clarify that. Just want you to answer yes or no. America, which is a secular nation, which was set up as a secular nation, which has separated church and state, is the best country in this.
Do you understand what church and state is? What it means? What its original intent at least was? Not what liberals say it is today.
So you're going back to the history. You're not talking about where we like.
All right, so let me answer your question, or answer your statement, which I think has some issues, or some false presuppositions, at least. The separation of church and state had more to do with or staying away from a theocracy, which is what they came from in England. They came from a theocracy or monarchy, a monarch theocracy, if you will, where the queen is sort of like the god kings from Egypt. She has authority from God, therefore, what she says is the law. So the principles that are in the Declaration of Independence are divorcing themselves from that type of authority. They instead said, the Creator endows us all with inalienable rights. That means you can't tell me you can't control me, basically. God is the one who gives us all these inalienable rights, not the Queen. That's what they were trying to escape was. Here's how I know this. After they talked about church and state, separation of church and state, that understanding of it, not the one today that we have, which is false, they put Bibles in the school. In every school, there was a Bible. You taught the scripture in school. So how on earth can you argue separation of church and state means that we're not to teach biblical principles to the state if they put Bibles in the schools and sanctioned it? The Congress themselves put Bibles in the schools. So obviously, common sense dictates they didn't mean what you mean by church separation of church and state today.
Can you give me any evidence of this other than your opinion?
There is I could do a quick Google search while we talk about something else, because
this isn't a Google search that you're supposed to come prepared. You've had 18 days, you know.
All right, well, let me see if I can find, actually, a YouTuber by the name of True Empiricism just did a video on this.
Oh, so we're going to go watch a video for the debate. Great debate.
No, but Bibles, are you contending that Bibles were not taught in schools?
Did I say?
Is that your contention?
No, I'm contending what you said about the fact that it's not a secular country, and your evidence for it not being a secular country is the fact that they put Bibles in school.
So, right. So you're saying that Bibles were not in public schools?
No, I'm not. I'm saying that I accept the fact that you're stating that Bibles were put in schools. I am not agreeing with the fact that the reason that they did that was because it was a Christian country. It was based on secular, and it is secular. It's supposed to be a secular country.
Okay. All right. Well, Bibles in schools to me doesn't mean you're a Christian country, but it does mean because other religions were allowed. When we say Christian country, we don't mean a theocracy. The Bible does not condone setting up a theocracy. God is going to do that when he returns. So we don't need to fret. The seven mountain ideology or the seven mountain theory or doctrine is false. It's from the pit of hell.
We're not
right? So
talking
we
the
don't
Bible.
need to control. Seven mountain theory, if you're not familiar, is the idea that Christians need to take control of all of these different spheres, politics and Hollywood and the media, and to make this country into a theocracy that way. That is not condoned, and politics, of course, White House, Christian in the White House, Christian laws, that is never condoned by Scripture, never. The Bible only condones that we adopt the principles of Scripture for our country, for our nation. Even if you're in China, you can adopt biblical principles. It doesn't mean you're forcing people to worship the God of the Bible, like the Catholic Church.
Are you just going to just rant on about the Bible, or like? The wonderful thing about a secular nation is, regardless of what your starting point is, you can take what was best about that and leave everything else behind. Then you can pick, you can have another, you can say, oh look, this works, implement that, society gets better. Oh look, this works, implement that, society gets better.
I understand that, but what you don't realize it, you may not realize it, but much of what you keep is part of the biblical teachings, or is biblical principles. Much of what makes a country work comes from out of Scripture. Let's do it this way. Because I'm more into biblical principles and adopting those into schools, teaching children to love their neighbors as themselves, teaching children the golden rule, some call it, teaching children to love their wives as Christ loves the church, sacrifice for their wives, teaching children to marry these women and not just have sex with them unhinged. That's a biblical principle.
The church teaches to keep women subjugated. If we implement these religious rules that you want, we will go back in levels. The fact that even women have the ability to vote in America, the country you're from, or the UK or Ireland where I'm from, these are, we implement Christian rules, women automatically lose the ability to vote.
Where in the Bible does it say women can't vote?
Women are subjugated. Women are there to...
but that's not a biblical principle. So you're taking, perhaps there was an abuse of the Bible to make a law that says women can't vote, but that's not a biblical principle.
I didn't say that there was a law that said women can't vote. I said the fact that women couldn't vote, the fact that women couldn't vote was because they were subjugated, because the society as a whole was based on religion. They looked at women as a secondary citizen.
You have to, well, you might be referring to the Roman Catholic Church, which I don't adhere to.
Hold on now. You're quoting history, right? Well, you're quoting bits that happened in the past to support your argument when I'm trying to talk about the present. Then when I try to bring up anything that's happened in the past to support my argument, we ignore it. And Catholics are still religious. Sorry, Catholics are still Christians, okay? Catholics are still Christians, whether you disagree with it or not. They are still Christians. They identify as Christians. If you get rid of the Catholics in the entire worldwide population, the Protestants alone would be outnumbered by Islam. So Islam would be the most predominant religion in the country, in the world.
All right, so can I jump in real quick and clarify something? The topic is, what is a better society, one based on religious beliefs or one based on secular beliefs? Last I looked, the Catholic Church is that's a religious belief system. Right. So we can't, whether people recognize it as Christian or not as Christian, I think Christians should hash that out and let us know when they figured out who's Christian, who's not. Until then, it doesn't matter to the topic at hand. The Catholics are religious, so we can just...
And just to address something in the chat, writer John Buck, aren't secular nations more liberal, less likely to procreate, leading to businesses needing foreign workers and non-secular values to be brought in? More secular countries have less divorce rates. There is better families, as you would altogether, as you would consider them. They stay together longer. It is better for families.
Like Holland, who adopted a constitution derived from our constitution, which comes from the God of the Bible. But
I'm not from Holland. There's
I
plenty
don't
of other
think-
examples. That's the thing with a secular nation. You can pick and keep the best things and pick on other
Yes,
things.
you
We're
can
going
pick
round
it.
in circles. You're
Exactly.
repeating yourself.
Exactly my argument. Because the secular, now you can't do that with Christianity, and I'm going to show you why. Because Christianity has codified its principles. You don't have any codification for your principles. So you can pick and choose even some out of the Bible and take a little bit out of the Quran and keep that and say, ah ha ha, we're a secular nation now. No, you're not. You have one woman and one man, not
What?
one man
What?
and married. How many wives can you have? How many wives are you allowed to have in Holland?
What has that got to do with what I'm talking about? I'm not in Holland. I don't know the marriage rights of Holland. I'm not in
No,
Holland.
I'm not asking the marriage rates. How many wives are you allowed to have in Ireland? How many women are you allowed to marry at a time?
You want me to go check the laws on polygamy for Ireland?
Is polygamy prohibited?
Probably against.
That's a biblical principle, Deuteronomy 17:17.
Okay, let's go back to the laws of Deuteronomy. Is that what you want to do? You want to implement all the laws of Deuteronomy?
It helped your society grow. Polygamy does not help society.
We're not talking like you want to implement
Destroy
all.
society.
No. You're picking and choosing again. You're saying here's one from Deuteronomy. Let's use that. Now I'm not going to quote the Bible because it's not something I can be arsed to read over and over again. It's not worth my time.
Can I jump in because we're muddying the water again? The topic is a society.
We're talking about the topic.
The topic is a society based on religious beliefs. If you wanna throw in how many wives you can have, we should also look at the Quran.
Ah, exactly my point.
So-
why didn't Holland? Why didn't Ireland?
Hold on. I didn't bring up the point that-
Marriage.
I'm not part of the debate. I'm just pointing out that
No, I'm asking MathPig.
I'm pointing out that looking to the Bible is irrelevant as the topic
it's
is
irrelevant.
based
That's
on
just the
religious beliefs,
Keystone to our faith. So I
which
can't use the Bible.
can you please stop talking over me? Which include all religious beliefs. Just wanted to make that clear.
The Bible includes all religious beliefs.
No, what he is stating is that we said
Over
religion.
me, if you hadn't talked over me, you would have heard.
Okay.
The topic is based on religious beliefs or secular beliefs. That includes all religious beliefs. That rules the Bible out as being completely irrelevant as measurement, because there are more holy books, and we need to stay on topic. It's not about what's in the Bible; it's about religious beliefs.
I don't know what that
carry
means, religious beliefs. So you want me to include Jim Jones's religion? You want me to include Yahweh Ben Yahweh's cult?
If you'd have turned up 10 minutes before, if you'd have turned up when you were supposed to, if you'd have turned up 10 minutes before when you were supposed to, this was the whole point. This was the whole point, so you were to turn up so we could discuss this and define terms. You decided to not turn up the 10 minutes before it and turned up and are just slobbering on now. You didn't turn up to discuss this, you were supposed to.
You can include, if you can include any religion, then of course Nazism is a religion.
What?
It's a secular religion, but it's still a religion, nevertheless.
Under what definition?
Is a form of a religion.
On what under your definition?
My side or your side? Is that on secular religion, or is there Christian religion? I mean, I'm playing a rigged game because you can throw any religion you want at me.
We had this hangout on your channel. You agreed to this.
Is Hitler? Is Mao?
MathPig, can you mute everyone but me for a minute? Thank you. I'll restate what the debate is about and what we agreed upon weeks ago in your hangout, Jesus is Lord. The topic is, what is a better society? One based on religious beliefs or one based on secular beliefs? That includes every single religion on the planet. Wow. It doesn't include Nazism because that's not a religion.
Wow. So let me ask you
if
this.
you had turned up as I asked you to, we could have gone over this. Just wanted to state the topic again. Which is a better society, one based on religious beliefs or one based on secular beliefs? And let's please stick to that topic and not make it about the Bible or Christianity, because that is not the topic.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Amazing. All right. So now I have to defend Islam. Wow. Okay.
You
so
specifically asked, like, this is what you arranged. This is what you said.
Let me ask you this, MathPig. This is crazy. If I have to defend Islam under the umbrella of religion, do you have to defend Pol Pot under the guise of secularism?
I have to defend what?
If I am forced to defend Islam because it's a religion, a false religion, I can demonstrate empirically that it's false, do you in turn have to defend Pol Pot? Pol Pot was the secularist and atheist who led a regime out of Cambodia who killed 2 million in 2 years or something to that effect. He killed about 4 million in 2 years, something crazy. Do you have to defend that as a secular nation? Riddle me that.
Right, and I will answer on one condition. Have I brought up Islam at all?
Well, that was your moderator, Peter.
No. He jumped in to say that what Peter said was the fact that if you were going to use the Bible, then I could use Islam, which I have not done. He just made it aware that if you were going to start using them, I could bring in the Quran. Then you were all, I ain't going to defend the Quran. I have not asked you to. The point Peter was bringing up was the fact that it is obvious that I can. I haven't.
To clarify again, MathPig. The topic is societies based on religious beliefs.
Yeah.
I didn't bring up the Quran specifically. I said every single religion on the planet. That is not bringing up the Quran. That is not bringing up Islam. That is bringing up religious beliefs, which is the topic. Go ahead.
All right. So my question to you, MathPig, considering these rules about religion and what encompasses religion, does that now mean that secularism, under the umbrella of secularism, is Mao and Pol Pot? Are they secularist nations, or the nations that they ran? Take Stalin, for example.
Oh, my
Is
goodness.
Stalin now under the
goodness.
umbrella of
Really?
secularism, or do you put that in a different category because they were dictators?
This is not like you were supposed to turn up before this, and this is
Not
nothing to
working
do
out
with
too
that.
well for you, MathPig, is it?
All of that has been that is a completely different conversation. You're not
Okay.
giving anything.
So-
You're not giving me
all right.
anything to work with. You haven't come prepared. You haven't come with an
I'm
ounce of
very
give. You
prepared.
cried to get on. The reason this is happening, even though you were banned and everything, didn't want to have you on, and told you that, you whinged at me in a live chat. Why haven't you had me back on? Why haven't you had me back on? So I said, right, I'll have you back on. I sent you an email 18 days ago. I sent it to you and said that we would discuss this. I then came on to your channel and we discussed this. And you have put no effort in, nothing at all. Your only argument has come on is to say, well, whatever it is now, it used to be Christianity. God did that. The scripture says it. So regardless of your points, I'm right. That's nothing. You just proved your stupidity.
I can demonstrate that I'm right empirically.
No, you can
but
demonstrate your opinion. You haven't given any evidence for anything you've said. You've just come in and rambled your opinion.
All right. Well, all right. So
Peter,
because the
questions,
debate now has
questions.
shifted-
Not worth my time. Questions. This is your last chance to come on here. You didn't even bother preparing.
Oh, I didn't prepare now because you can't answer my question. Is Pol Pot and Stalin considered a secular nation? Yes or no?
I am not going to go down the route of defending Stalin because we have done this. People have done this back and forth.
I'm asking you a question for your
That
audience.
is not
MathPig.
relevant to the
How
topic.
is that
I am not
so-
going to
so
stand
I
here
have to
and
include
defend
Islam.
murder. It's same as you will try and wiggle your way out of what the Christians have done. More people have had battles and wars over whose God is right. People are being killed in this country that I live in, actual Northern Ireland, over their differences in religion.
20 million
Okay,
killed
every
under
fucking
Stalin.
day they're being killed here. All right, we're
20
getting people.
million
It's don't even get me started, man. There's people
20
getting killed on the streets because of religion right
How
now.
about 20 million under Stalin?
Questions?
Okay. So are you going to answer the question? Can I include Stalin?
Peter, questions. I'm not wasting my time on him anymore.
Yeah, I think so. If we include a Stalin or Pol Pot, I think we should also include the Spanish Inquisition.
Mm-hmm. That's all I'm asking. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, and if you want to go to the Bible, we can include the entire genocide of Noah's flood and just settle the numbers in favor of a secular society. But we're going to
It's a dead
questions.
end. I'm not going down a dead end. I was here to have a debate on that specific topic. I ain't going down no dead ends.
Well,
Questions?
MathPig, if I may say this before we go to the questions. In debates, you have to define your terms. You can't just enter into a debate with these vague, wide umbrellas of religion and expect not to be responsible for the term religion that you're using.
Had a hangout on
now
your
I'm
channel.
asking
Had a
for
hangout on your channel discussing this. We went over it. You were happy with it.
We
And
didn't
I
go
asked
over
you
the
an email. Do
definition.
you want me to put the email up on screen? I asked you to be here 15 minutes before it so we could do that. What you're
I'm
asking
black.
now to do, I have sent you an email. That is what it said. Be here for 15 minutes before.
I know, but I'm black.
What?
And what has that to do with anything? Hold on,
I'm
hold
gonna
on.
Be late. It's called color people.
I didn't give you a notice on your channel?
But I'm African American. I'm black. so-
Didn't I give you a notice
All
on
right,
your
so-
channel to which you
Yeah,
replied?
I know. I wasn't here 15 minutes early, but what I'm
If we're
trying
going to if we're going to play the racist card here, then
Okay,
I'm
it
going to
was a
call
joke.
bullshit
I-
on you, Jesus is Lord.
It was a joke. Calm down.
And
But the point-
racist jokes are not allowed here, so
All right,
do
racist
something
jokes are
different.
not allowed. You've never told a racial or sexist.
No, I
Right.
have never.
All right. Yeah, I know.
So-
You just date two women at the same time. and
What
think
the
it's
heck?
okay.
Right, that's it. Sorry, excuse me for the way this looked, but no, I'm not listening to that. Not listening to it. Not worth my time. Not worth my time. If anybody's got any questions for me that they'd like to ask, I'm willing to take them. But I'm not standing there. I'm not listening to that sort of stuff. Peter has nothing to do with this. Peter is only here as the moderator, not to be fucking picked on.
I'm just the moderator and trying to keep everyone on topic. Oh, he left?
I kicked him. I ain't gonna have them sort of jokes or anything on my channel. Not worth it.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's kind of a pity. I would have had. We have a couple of questions, not a lot. So, but yeah.
Well, if he comes
Going-
back. Oh, right, he's back. Wonderful. You're going to
Oh,
have
you
some
kicked me.
respect. This is my channel. You kick people on your channel because of the way and they're not allowed to swear and do this, that, and the other. So I'd appreciate if you show this channel the same respect.
Sure, I knew you was looking for a reason to kick me because your back is against the wall.
My
So I
back
should
is not
have went
against the
into-
wall. You've come up with nothing. Questions. Answer the
perhaps I
questions from the
shouldn't
chat.
All right, perhaps I shouldn't have used that opportunity.
Perhaps you should apologize. How's that?
All right, great. I apologize. I should not have told those jokes, especially being that I'm, in danger of being kicked or coming on here and embarrassing MathPig in this debate.
Yeah, that's exactly what you did.
Is
You
there
haven't
any
even done
questions
anything.
from the audience for me?
We have some questions.
All right.
So, MathPig, a question for you from Brother John. Could you start with a definition of secular beliefs? I don't know.
Secular beliefs. I would consider secular
So go
beliefs
ahead.
to be.
You have yourself muted.
Sorry. Secular beliefs would be open, freedom, not strained down by a specific religion, not strained down by a specific dogma. Being open, being free, and being helping everybody in the society, not just one specific group.
Okay. Then we have a question from writer John Buck. If secular European countries such as Sweden, UK, France are more likely to bring in immigrants, which turn the majority of the populace to Islam, does it remain a secular society?
That was for Jill or me.
I'll let you both answer that. So, MathPig, if you want to go first.
Well, the society that it is at the time, if it was moved in, started as secular, and then was taken over as Islam, I would consider it at that time that you're looking at it, Islam.
Islam is invading Europe. I predict that Sharia law will be the law of the land in about 20 years, and you will no longer be a secular nation. When you abandon the God of the Bible, he allows you to be conquered by other nations. This goes back to the Old Testament and the Canaanite religious groups. Blessings for those who follow, curses for those who disobey.
Okay. Then we're up to the last question. There might be another one in the side chat. I'm still not entirely sure. So I'll ask Apostle Holy to clarify his question so I can put it up. Last one from Brother John. Can you guys just bring up your best example of each? Last time, MathPig, you went first. So this time, Jesus is Lord, will you name your best example of each and maybe explain why they are your best example?
I think I gave a best example of a Christian nation, I gather. I don't believe that a...
Hold on. It's not about Christianity. It's about religious.
A best example of a religious nation? I can't think of any. I think if you're built on religious principles, and those principles have to be biblical, otherwise they're not going to work, then I would say America, because America is the leader and leader of nations, a defender of nations. And we built up a military, the most powerful military until Obama came in and depleted our military. In the world, we stopped the...
That's your example of a secular nation.
Of a religious nation.
Sorry, America, last I checked, is a secular nation.
Now, today. Yeah, but I'm talking about early America and its inception.
As I stated before, the topic is today.
Just back and forth, Peter. Just move on to the next one. He's not going to accept it. That's his argument.
Yeah.
You can't just state
so that was your example for a secular nation. Do you have an example for a religious nation?
A secular nation?
A religious nation. You already have America as your...
I don't have any... There's no such thing. I don't believe there's such thing as a religious nation.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sharia, probably. Sharia. Islam.
Sharia is not a nation.
Well, no,
Sharia is a law based on Islamic principles.
Based on
okay.
Right.
Well,
okay, moving on.
MathPig, can you give your examples of each?
Well, I don't think that there is, because I don't defend the point that there can be a very good Christian nation. Secularism, we could go down mostly a lot of Europe now. England's getting better. We could go...
I thought this wasn't about Christian. You didn't stop him, Peter, when he said Christian nation, but you stopped me.
You asked... I'm giving you examples of religious nations.
You just said Christian.
I may have missed that. So
yeah.
if that's the case,
I was asked for my opinion.
Yeah. So I'll restate the question because what I and how I interpret it. Um, it is the question was, why don't you guys bring up your best example of each? So that would mean your best example of a religious nation and your best example of a secular nation, and then include in why you think it is either good or bad.
Okay, well then me answering now, taking that into consideration the way you've interpreted it, a best example of a specific religious nation would be somewhere like Saudi Arabia or something like that does enforce their laws, that I would fight is not very, very good. Examples of a secular nation, yeah, we'll use Scandinavia. We could go back to Holland, but that would confuse Jesus as Lord. He thinks I'm from Holland. There's two examples for a secular nation, which is slightly better in my, and we have an example of a Christian nation, which I would argue is worse. Sorry, Islamic nation, which I would argue is worse under the umbrella of religion.
Okay, we got a question from our good friend Dave, Critical Cripple. If more people are happy or satisfied in secular nations, how can you think religious societies offer more? This time, MathPig, you go first.
I don't think they can. I don't think a religious society can offer more. I think that's more just directed at Jill. I agree with it.
Okay. Yeah, it was directed at Jill, but I want to ask it to both of you.
Oh no, I agree with that. I don't think that religious societies can offer more.
People, if you have questions, tag me in. I will ask the question for you. So, Jill, if more people are happy or satisfied in a secular nation, how can you think religious societies offer more?
Well, again, it's quite convenient that the secular nations, under the umbrella of secular nations, North Korea is left out. Venezuela is left out. So, the communist nations, they're all left out, which are all bankrupt. The only examples that are cited are the Netherlands. The Netherlands has become the poster board for this idea that secularism works.
I used England, and you shouted at me because I said it was a Christian nation. So I went and then chose a different one. I wasn't allowed. You whinged when I used England.
North Korea would be an example of a secular nation for me. But what was the question again?
The question was, if more people are happy or satisfied in secular nations, how can you think religious societies offer more? So
Yeah,
I think to clarify, the question is, if we have our statistics that show that people in secular nations are happier and more satisfied. What the question might be is, what would you think that a religious society would offer to increase that value? What could it offer?
Well, it already has offered. Those same nations that you're polling have already benefited from a religious principles that that are embedded in their societies. So just because you wake up the next morning and say I'm a secularist, that's like me waking up tomorrow and say I'm an atheist. So God is now going to take away all the blessings that He has given me over the years, that I have obtained because of my obedience. Perhaps if you're Job, well, Job actually didn't do anything wrong. Well, he did. Do you know what Job's sin was?
What has that got to do with this?
Pride. Pride was Job's sin. So secular nation, I don't know how to even define that. Is North Korea a secular nation, MathPig? Can you answer that?
North Korea, would it be considered a secular nation? They all worship one guy, basically.
Oh, so he's a god.
I said basically. I didn't.
Maybe
maybe
I can clarify that a little bit, because I do look into all of that. North Korea is is looked at as a religious nation because.
Wow.
And can I explain before you scream? Okay, thank. It is religious because basically the chief of state has elevated himself to a position equal to a god, and people need to worship him. So it is also something that we can see in communism. Communism is entirely based on religion, as was, for instance, Russian communism. Stalin used to be religious and just implied everything that was in his religion and put that into his particular form of communism. So, yes, we could say that those are considered to be a religious nation, although it is not a religion that is. Um, recognized in other countries. So that's my 2 cents on that.
That's why it's important to define your terms. 'Cause
Yeah, which why
anything-
it's important to turn up
That's
beforehand.
why it's important for you to show up in
Yeah,
time.
15 minutes would have hashed this out. What about Niger? What about Nigeria? Those
Yeah,
are secular
Nigeria
nations.
is the actual most religious country in the world.
They're listed as a secular nation.
No, they are listed as
Or
the
in a
most
secular
religious
country.
country, followed up by Ethiopia, followed then by Somalia, followed then by Bangladesh. I looked it up beforehand. I put a bit of time in.
Hold on.
A secular state.
Hold on. We
Yeah.
have had the conversation part. We're on to the question
Okay.
in part.
That's why we need to define our terms, and I'm going to help
That's
you
why
out
you
here.
should have showed up in time. Okay.
15 minutes prior. Okay.
We have a question from Apostle Holy, and I can't check that, but I'll ask the question anyway. There have ever been 4 countries that was secular rated, ratified: Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, and Samoa, but went back to Islam. But why? Wouldn't you think they would be happy? So I can't check if they were officially secular countries. I'm not entirely sure of that either.
They're down now as religious countries. I can stand and say Afghanistan is down as a religious country. By the way, it's also the 5th highest crime rate in the world. Somalia is down as a religious country as well. What other country did he mention?
Samoa was mentioned. But,
Sorry.
The question was, why would they go back to Islam? And wouldn't you think they would be happy? That was the question. So, MathPig, that's for you.
Well, they're in the stats for being in the highest crime rate. I don't think they're happy. The fact that it's a religious country, and the statistics show that they aren't happy.
Jesus is Lord. Do you want to answer the question?
I think I did already, but that's fine. Samoa is a Christian nation. I wonder if they're happy or not. You see, this whole thing about being happy, this seems to be the crux of your argument, MathPig. But what does that mean? They took a survey and checked off, I'm happy.
Jesus is Lord. We're in the Q&A section. You had your chance during the conversation. We're not going to ask questions back and forth. I asked you to answer the question. The question was asked by someone in the side chat, Apostle Holy. So that is the person. Holy, yes. That is the person you need to address, not MathPig.
Okay, yeah. These nations went back to Islam after a revolution, of course. So this is what I'm not sure if this was a Iraq, for example. Well, he mentioned Iran. Iran was a secular state until the Islamic Revolution in 1979. We all remember that. That was a year after I was born. I don't remember it, but I've researched it. The overthrow of the Shah, and the government was replaced with the Islamic type of Ayatollah ruler, they call him. So you have to ask those people, are they happy? I'm sure they're not, because they're under a regime of Islam, which is a religion, but a religion from hell. So to accept under the umbrella and defend these religions from Satan is untenable.
Let me quickly interrupt, Jill. We're losing the topic again. Whether or not you think a religion is from hell or from Satan is completely irrelevant. you are defending their point.
No, I'm not.
I just want to
If
make.
he,
I just want to make this clear. This is what you agreed on.
Okay.
Societies based on religious beliefs. That
Okay.
includes all religious beliefs.
and
So that is the part that you're defending.
okay,
If
great.
you-
Let me just say
hold
this.
on. I'm just making it clear so you
Okay.
won't say that
You-
you
you-
were ambushed later.
Okay. Oh yes.
If you
Uh,
are now arguing in favor of MathPig, that's fine.
Okay.
Just
All right.
want
Let
to
me just
point-
say this.
I just want to point out that
Said
that
that
is
already.
what you are doing. So,
Okay. Let me just say this, and then we'll get to the next question. You didn't have to accept the regime currently a secular regime. You made an excuse to cop out of North Korea. So if you could do so with North Korea, then I can do so with Islam. Go ahead. Next question.
Okay, next question. This time, I forgot who was first. Okay, we'll stick with Jesus is Lord to go first on this question. And it is for you. If we take a society that has all the Christian values but discards the anti-freedom rules, do we not have a better society? That's from Critical Cripple.
If we take out all of the what?
I'll state the question again. If we take a society that has all the Christian values but discards the anti-freedom rules, do we not have a better society?
Christianity fosters freedom. So I think there is a.
I'll clarify the question for you because I think that's what.
No, I understand the question well, but there is a premise.
I'll clarify the question for you because I don't think you get the question.
I do.
What he means, the anti-freedom rules, is the freedom for people to have relationships as they see fit, to have same-sex marriages, to have pro-choice. Those are, if you're going to, those are the freedom rules. You have anti-freedom rules that would make sure that people cannot have same-sex marriages, cannot have abortions, stuff like that.
Okay, so the freedom to kill an unborn human and the freedom.
We're not going to discuss a certificate.
Okay, those are not freedom.
Topic. The question was.
I'm answering the question. You answer the question.
The question was if we discard the anti-freedom rules.
Those will harm your society because they will be killing unborn humans. That will actually harm your society. And there's also evidence that women that have abortions performed suffer from the same.
I don't think you get the question. We're not arguing abortion. We're arguing rules.
The rules. One of the rules you said was on abortion.
We're not arguing one specific rule. We are arguing a set of rules.
A set of rules, and I'm giving you an example of what you call freedom. The freedom to kill an unborn child should not be granted. That harms societies. It doesn't help societies. Evidence shows that women suffer from the same symptoms that war veterans suffer from.
These
are your opinions, and you asked what the No, please. I'm gonna my chance. You asked what he meant by freedom rules.
MathPig, this is not a back and forth.
Yeah.
He can waste his time on addressing another topic. That's fine. And then the question will go to you.
You would have a better society. I'm in agreement with it. If you did get rid of the freedom, as that umbrella term is being used to describe them, if you got rid of them, in my opinion, society would be better.
Kill more babies. Make our society better.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
This is not a back and forth.
I'm not going to have that sort of stuff on my channel. One more like that and I'm just going to kick you.
Okay. Next question is from Remember Sammy Jenkins. It is a question for Jill, so I'll let Jill answer first. Can Jill name any positive major events that came from Christianity as opposed to all the negative ones like the Crusades, witch hunts, etc.?
Well, interestingly, if you do a study on the Crusades, without the Crusades, you might be speaking Arabic.
I'll state the question again because you have a problem with getting the question.
I'm getting to the answer.
Can you name any positive major events that came from Christianity as opposed to the negative ones like the Crusades, witch hunts, etc.? So what you need to address is anything but like the Crusades, witch hunts.
Modern science came from the minds of religious believers. Not one atheist led us through the scientific revolution. Not one.
That's not even worth it. Not even worth it.
Hold on, I don't think you get the question. We're talking.
Yeah, I just said modern science.
We're talking about major events.
Modern science, major event.
Science is not an event.
The scientific revolution was not an event.
Science is a method to determine reality.
The scientific revolution was not an event in our history.
Okay, so you don't want to answer the question?
I just answered the question. The scientific revolution that was led by Christians, led by religious men.
That's not an event. That's a method to determine reality. Okay,
no,
I'll throw the question over to MathPig. MathPig, can you?
Scientific.
Do you want to answer?
No, there's nothing for me to answer. I it's aimed at Jill. I'm in agreement with it. That's.
Okay. Next question is for you, MathPig, from Apostle Holy. Ask MathPig why Ireland moved away. Why did Ireland move away to secularism? It's kind of weird asking.
I think I understand what he's saying. It was originally mainly Catholic country, and they have now moved towards more laws which would be secularism. They're trying to get rid of the blasphemy law at the minute. They have allowed gay marriage and things like that, and they have moved towards it because it's better for everyone as a society. Fine, he's gone. It's better for everyone as a society for these things to be available, as we just discussed in the last question. It says device not connected.
Oh, that's a pity because the next question was for him.
It's not worth it, man. I'll take a picture if anyone wants to see. I have not kicked him. It says device not connected, but I'm not letting him back in. He's not worth my time. He's running around in circles.
We need to, so just to be honest, if he wants to come back, I think you should let him get in because we have questions from the side chat that people might want to have an answer to. But
5 minutes. If he comes back on again, 5 minutes. He's not worth my time. I didn't want him to come back on. The only reason he came back on again is because he whinged at me. Whinged at me and yapped at me to let him back on again. We then went through the time of discussing all this and he has put no effort in, no nothing. Made an absolute... It's just... He's not worth my time. 5 more minutes, 11:15. I'm fucking ending it because he's a waste of space.
Okay.
Love you too, MathPig.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, question. Jill, in your opinion, is a secular society better than an Islamic society?
That was a good question. I saw that in the chat and I said a tie. I would say no religion is better than that mess. That religion is from Satan himself. It's not. I personally believe that everyone who does not accept Christ as their Lord and personal Savior is worshiping the devil. So I would put you and the secular state and Islam and Mormonism all in the same boat, straight to hell.
I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. So
sure, anytime.
We have another one from mandatory suicide, but I'm not going to ask that because that has nothing to do with the topic. Then we got from Apostle Holy. In the French Revolution, which was based on secularism, why did Napoleon recognize Jerusalem based on historical accounts, based on its biblical significance? Apostle Holy, I don't think that any of us is privy of that information or can even check the information right now, but I'll ask the question anyway. So MathPig, if you want to go first, because
No, I don't know the history of
I'm
Napoleon.
not sure that's even true.
Yeah, I don't know the history of Napoleon. Can't go down it. Nothing to comment on it.
No. Okay. Jill, do you want to chime in on that?
I'm not really familiar. I do know that Tanzania is a secular state.
That was-
Angola,
That was not a question.
Liberia.
You really have to work on trying to answer questions.
I don't know much about the, that the French Revolution. So I have to say I'm not sure why that was the case. I don't know what you were getting at, Apostle Holy, with that question, but
I don't know that either. And then Apostle Holy, if you have a question, then ask a question. You can tag me, but making a statement and tagging me, I have no bone in this fight. Just then keeping people on topic. So that was the last question, I think. I do think we need a closing statement. So Jill, if you want to make a closing statement.
yeah. How much time do I have? 5 minutes, maybe?
3.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
MathPig says 3. He wants to get me off here.
Yeah, you're wasting my time.
Yeah,
I'm bored with you. I'm bored with you.
I know, MathPig. It'll be okay. But I think what we learned here is that my opponent MathPig was quick to include every religion under the sun under the umbrella of religion.
I never brought up Islam once. Never brought it up once until you brought it up. I was not the person who brought it up.
Guys, I need to be the referee again. It's not a back and forth. This is a closing statement.
Yes, please, MathPig.
And let me just chime in real quick. Jesus is Lord. You agreed on the topic, so your closing statement should not be whining about.
No.
You should have accepted. You should have accepted the topic. You had weeks to prepare.
No.
You knew what it was.
I'm not whining about. I'm happy with the topic. I'm perfectly
No, you're not happy with the topic.
I'll do a part 2 if you want me to.
Okay, go
All
ahead.
right.
Your closing statement. Please
Okay, so
topic.
so when I try to get an idea of what I can include with religion, the notion I got from MathPig was that every religion is under the umbrella of religion. When I played that same logic, when I applied that same logic to secularism, as you saw in the case of North Korea, and I probably could name a few more, Pol Pot, he acted like he didn't know who Pol Pot was, even though he's sitting in front of a computer. These are not secular nations because blah, 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 blah. Well, in the same right, I could suggest to you that Islam is not a religion of God. It is a religion of man. It is a man-made religion. They are a secular nation. Okay, the only nations that are Bible believing or nations that don't exist. There are no nations that follow the scriptures. There are no nations that implement the scriptures into, it's as a theocracy. That doesn't exist. There are countries that have principles, biblical principles, and they adopt those biblical principles, but they don't always do so, and people are not perfect. So there's a difference between the people of the nation, which make their own decisions, and the what the country adopts. So I can have a nation that says don't commit fornication because the Bible says so, and they still go out and act like atheists. Do I now take the statistics from that Christian nation and say that this doesn't work? Well, of course it doesn't work, because the people their hearts are not changed. Until the heart is changed, until God changes our hearts and changes our bodies and gives us our glorified bodies where we're not tempted to do these things, we're not tempted to act like atheists, okay, or people who don't want to obey the law, Until that day happens, we will not see Christianity work. Christianity, I don't believe in Christianity because it works. That's pragmatism. I believe in Christianity because it's true. And I'll end my closing there.
Okay, that was your 3 minutes. MathPig, your 3 minutes of closing statement, please.
The reason I take the stance that I have tonight is because I am here for the freedom of people, for the freedom of everyone. Everybody is equal. Everybody should have the same opportunities and the same get-go. It is unfair to oppress anyone, and that is under all religions. I wouldn't consider myself anti-theist, but any religion or anything at all, a cult or anything that suppresses people and won't promote and help them is just not right. The reason I take the stance I do is because of them reasons, and a society based on secular beliefs that moves their laws closer to the freedom for everyone is obviously better for everyone. Everybody should have the same equal rights. That's it. That's all I need to say. Don't need 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, so all I have left is to thank both debaters for showing up, and pity we didn't have Tog in here as promised. Maybe things would have gone a little bit different. Who knows? I tried to be impartial. It's difficult at times. People won't see it as being completely impartial, but that's okay, I guess. So thanks everyone in the side chat, and thanks to the people who have asked questions. And so that's it for this debate, and hopefully a few more to come.
Yeah, you got to have me on again, MathPig, for another debate.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to happen.
Yeah,
okay.
You have an open invite to come on my channel.
There you go. Peter will have you. Go on Peter's channel. Everybody, thanks very much for turning up. Appreciate you all coming. Wouldn't be anything without yous. And yeah. Wow. So on that note, I'll say, oh yes, we've got Deconverted Man on Tuesday. Tuesday at 10 o'clock, my time, 5 Eastern Standard. I don't know what's going on with his camera. He never shows anything below his nose. But man, seems like good fun. Give us a shout round on Tuesday, 5 Eastern, 10 UK. We'll see you then. Bye bye.